Queens, welcome to In Real Time, the sassy, no-filter business podcast where we catch founders mid-pivot, mid-meltdown, and mid-magic. No polished stories, just raw, in-the-moment conversation about what it really takes to build something that matters. This is business, uncut, unpredictable, and happening in real time. So let's get into it. Zara, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, so excited to be here. And you're in London. Welcome.
We're in London.
Welcome
oh my God,
to
yes.
London.
Kaarme on tour.
I know.
Kaarme kind of on tour, in real time on tour.
Mm-hmm. How good's this?
It's so good.
I'm so honoured.
It took so long to find this place, guys, but we're here and we're sorted and we're ready to go.
Yeah, and we've got a beautiful set.
I know. It's
People
actually
are watching the video. Yeah.
So cool.
So
literally. Now, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I feel like when I was actually having a conversation with one of my girlfriends about you recently, because I think you're known for like so many things, especially marketing, but obviously everyone knows you from TikTok as getting a job with Stephen Bartlett, which is so exciting.
Crazy.
And I think absorbing what you talk about and the journey you've been on, I think it's such a indicator of like, it's like they become successful overnight because they've had this big thing, but your journey is so long.
Mm-hmm.
Not only have you had numerous own businesses, you've worked in marketing for a long time. You've been a marketing expert in so many different areas before you got your now job over in London. And you've really, I think, spearheaded conversations in marketing and brands growing that I think the way that you speak about things really, really, I find interesting.
Wow, that is the kindest intro ever.
Yeah, I do.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I love watching you and I love absorbing how you kind of talk. And I think the way that you talk and the way you talk about marketing, I find like I really absorb it. Whereas a lot of people I'm kind of like, oh,
what are you talking about?
Whatever. Like you've lost me 3 miles away. You know? But to start every episode, we start at the same. And it's what are you moving through in real time at the moment?
Oh, so much change.
Yeah.
So much change. I mean, I've shifted my whole life to London. I started this new job. I'm living in literally the attic of an apartment on like the 5th floor. We've had a heat wave the last week. And so I've got no air conditioning. I've got no fan, nothing. And I'm just like right up in the attic. So I'm like 50 degrees up there.
That's so London, an attic.
So London. It's so funny.
Giving Harry Potter.
It is giving Harry Potter. It's so British of me. And it's like I've got this beautiful home back home and I've got my boyfriend, I've got my safety net. And so I guess I'm just moving through literally so much change and like a lot of emotions around that too, because in some ways I've taken this giant step forwards and then in some ways I feel like a bit of a fraud because I've taken so many steps backwards in other aspects of my life, like living in a share house again, all of those things, like barely being able to bang a dollar together because it's so expensive to live in London. So I'm just like moving through the emotions around uncertainty and change and like just really trying to center myself back in the idea that like I'm here as an investment in myself for the long term and like short-term pain, long-term gain.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you can have those emotions and I guess a stranger looking into your life, I'm like, go the fuck off.
Yeah.
Like obviously how you feel about it and the experiences you're having, which is so unbelievably valid. I'm like, oh my God. Like I don't think anyone would think that you're having those emotions around the experience that you're having.
And that's why I think it's important to say straight off the bat, because I think it's so easy to look at the outside perspective of what I'm going through and the opportunity that I've been given and just be like, wow, like this is amazing. And it is in every single way, it's amazing. But also that doesn't mean that I'm not still struggling with the same things that everyone else is struggling through in their workplace and in their life,
Absolutely. I want to touch on your career to begin with. I think I want you to give us a rundown on who Zara is, where you started, now, everything, and kind of I think it took me a lot when I was really watching you and absorbing you, and I have followed you for quite a long time on TikTok, to really pin together all of your bits of your career because there were so many. And then I'd randomly come across a video and I'd be like, oh, she did that, I was like, what the? I was like, this chick has done so much, and I feel like I'm kind of the same. So I'm like, I want you to give us a rundown of kind of post-school, where you were and how you got to here.
Yeah, that's good feedback for me that I need to market my journey a little bit better.
Yeah, I was like, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding,
you're like,
ding,
where is,
ding.
you're piecing it all together. And I think it's like, I think I felt a lot of shame around my journey for a really long time because it is not the typical marketing career journey. And I've really come to learn through my experience that it is my superpower. Like all these experiences that I can draw from are the reason why I'm able to do a role like this now. So I came out of high school as a singer. I wanted to be a singing teacher. That was like my dream. I also studied teaching, dropped out of uni, and then really went after that music career for myself. I started teaching at a local music school. I did that for 4 years and became the head of music there. And I was really like, this is my career journey. This is my path. Like whether it's teaching, singing forever, or moving into producing or who knows what, artist management, I really saw myself being in the music industry long term. And then once I was there for 4 years, I decided to make the leap and open my own business. Now that I think about it, I'm skipping quite a lot. Like even in school, I did marketing. I did so many different things, but this is the most linear way I can tell this journey.
Yeah. Most entrepreneurs.
Yes, literally. And so I opened my own business after 4 years of teaching. I was around 23. I launched my own business called Soundcheck Studios. And that was basically came from me going out on my own, deciding I started to build a wait list. And I thought to myself, like, I have two options here. I can either build a wait list and just keep myself booked and busy, and then just every time a student leaves, just bring a new one in and just keep myself really busy and just have essentially a freelance career in singing teaching. Or I could think about a way to service this wait list that allows me to scale the current business. And so that's what I decided to do. And I essentially, renovated a big commercial space in Ballarat. I hired teachers. I started with another singing teacher and then another singing teacher. Then I brought admin into the fold, started getting office management, guitar, piano. I just scaled it into like a full music school. I did that for maybe 3 years, and that was like my sole focus. And then I got to a point where I kind of just thought to myself, like, I started to hit a bit of a ceiling with that business. And I think it's because I was in Ballarat. I definitely had grown to a place in Ballarat where I felt like we were like leading in some aspects and quite different and filling a bit of a gap in the market. And I was like, what else am I learning here? And I was really keen to just learn from other people. And I think being a founder yourself, you might relate to that feeling of like you're learning so much on the fly, but you really start to crave like a mentor or someone to learn from. And so I was like, okay, what aspect of business do I really want to focus in on and learn the most about? And for me, that was marketing and brand and social media, which is the exact, passion and skill that allowed me to scale the business in the first place. So then I went out into my first role was like a contract role. I was working with Adore Beauty. So that was like pretty great step for me straight out the gate.
Massive.
To be able to, to be able to leverage that.
I love it. She's like, that's my first one.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because it sounds good in practice, but really what I was doing was like freelancing 10 hours a week for a girl that lived in Geelong who had this contract and helping her deliver this contract. Right. But in tandem, I was able to leverage the fact that I was working alongside Adore Beauty to help scale their social presence with their private label team. So, it's good in practice, but really it was kind of messy all throughout. And then I did that for a while, and then I decided to go full time into social media and marketing. So I worked at a hair care brand, and then I worked at another hair care brand as marketing manager, and then I went into agency, which was my last role, which I absolutely loved. I loved the fast-paced urgency setting of agency, and I worked myself up from a senior social media specialist into an account director there. And then I took the leap and moved to London.
Of course.
Yeah, wild. Insane. And yeah, this last 6 months I've been in this role now has just been like the wildest journey of my life.
It is crazy. And I think the one thing that comes to my brain as you're talking, because I feel like we're very similar, is the overarching feeling is just like ambition. Just like quite an ambitious person. No matter, I think even from being young, it just sounds like you were always like hungry, ambitious, willing to put yourself in rooms, willing to do what it takes. Squeaky wheel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think that drive and ambition, it comes from, and I'm hoping people can relate to this when they hear this, but for me, I've really learned that I think the hardest working people always have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Like something happened in your childhood or something happened when you were younger that really felt like you had a reason to prove yourself. And it's funny how those hard circumstances can sometimes be your biggest driving force. Yeah. And you can be grateful for it.
I've got deja vu randomly, but I was watching something recently and it was like a famous person talking about his kids and saying like, oh, it was Pharrell.
Oh, nice.
And he was speaking about how like he's really conscious of his kids because he got to where he was from the hard times that he had as a child. But he doesn't want to obviously give them that hard time, but those experiences that he had made him who he is, and he's conscious that if they don't have any hard experiences, that they're not going to have that kind of fire or ambition or anything. And I was like, it is so true.
Yeah. You got to give your kids, I think, like when I have kids,
grit.
You do. They need grit and resilience.
Absolutely.
And I'm like really grateful. I had an amazing childhood. I had amazing parents, but like we didn't have everything.
Yes.
You know, we didn't have all the money in the world. We didn't have the most perfect circumstances. We weren't traveling all over the world. Like our holidays when we were kids was to like, you know, the Great Ocean Road in our caravan, you know, and so then it creates this fire in you that's like, I want more for myself. I've got to build it myself.
What star sign are you?
I'm a Libra. What
My
are
best
you?
friend's a Libra. I'm a Cancer.
Oh, my mum's a Cancer.
See,
so
we got along.
You're June.
July.
Your birthday's coming up
next month.
You're 30 this year. Me too.
Babe! Meant to be twins.
How good.
Oh my God. Okay. I want to talk about your role now quickly. I want to touch on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the overarching theme I want to touch on with it is just the ambition and putting yourself in the right room. Because I think you said at the beginning it was an opportunity, which I do completely validate it's an opportunity. But the reason you have that opportunity is because you put yourself in the room. And I think sometimes, and I've been having this conversation with a lot of people around like, you know, we speak about how like we're privileged or we have this or we have that. And recently I've been like, I 100% get that. But then we've worked that fucking hard that I'm like, the only reason why I'm in this room or I'm doing this thing or I'm, you know, have this brand or whatever is because I've literally made it happen. So I wanted to talk to you about the job you have now, how you got that, and kind of what you think were the driving factors of you getting it.
Yes.
And give us a rundown of what it is.
Yes, of course. Okay, so my role now is content social media manager for Stephen Bartlett. So if you know Diary of a CEO, he's the host of Diary of a CEO. He's also one of the dragons on Dragon's Den in the UK, which is like their version of Shark Tank. And so I guess my role now is managing his personal brand across all channels, being really conscious of how we're positioning him, but really trying to like help him be seen as the full 360 view of who he is. I think when you become known for like one particular thing, for him it's like Diary of a CEO and Dragon's Den are his defining moments in his career. You start to become like a little bit lost in being defined by like those things only and being seen in only one like two-dimensional way. So like he is such a layered person. He is like funny. He's also thoughtful. And like my role is really to just like show the world the whole kind of view of who he is as a human. Yeah. That's my whole job. And like not to like change him or position him in anything but who he is in a 360 way. So that's my role. And I love it. And it's such a huge challenge. And it's been such a like a learning experience for me because I've never really worked on a personal brand either aside from my own. But how I like got the role, I think like often people will ask me like, what did you write? And I get messages all the time of people being like, what did you put in your application? I really want to get a job there. And I'm like, that is the wrong question. You're asking the wrong question because if you were hiring someone in your business, for example, and you were looking for like an operational expert and one person had 20 years experience and the other person had 3, you could give that 3-year experienced person all the tips on their application and resume that you like, but like experience and attitude and like honestly just the experience they've had in the past and their knowledge that they bring is going to beat you every time. So a lot of people will be like, did you design your cover letter on Canva or on Word? And I'm like, you're missing the point. Like that stuff I think matters when you're going for a junior role and you have nothing else to market. But really the thought process I've had for years of my career is like every new opportunity I've taken, I've always taken it with 2 things in mind. One being, is this going to give me a learning experience that's going to put me forwards in the future? So am I going to gain something from this in terms of knowledge, skills, confidence that's going to help me, you know, with whatever my next step is? But also, is this a role that I'm going to be able to market in the future as something that is going to position me in a way that gets my next opportunity? So like the adore, you know, but you have to be clever like that. So like if a role is not giving you either of those things, then it's like, what are you really doing? And so what got me in the door was I sent this email to Stephen. I went through my whole life journey of what I'd done. So it's actually my LinkedIn bio, the same email that I sent if anyone wants to read it. And it's basically like when I was 12, I was door-to-door selling keychains at my caravan park. When I was 13, I was doing X. When I was 16, I opened an e-com brand. And I think like none of that stuff is on my resume, but I think it's really important for me in particular to paint a picture of my full life journey in terms of my career because my ambition and my drive started at such a young age, and my resume hasn't always caught up with that on paper. But like I've always been learning and growing and doing like impressive things, but my resume hasn't always been able to show that. So for me, it's just about like marketing yourself in a really strong way, but also being really careful and selective along the journey about the opportunities you're taking that are always putting you a step forwards. And I think like once you have that down pat, you could put that realistically on a really plain Word document and it'll sell itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So did you just cold email him?
He posted a post, which he does quite often, and it was like, you know, I'm looking for people to join my team. I'll create a role for people. I don't care about your experience. I just care about hard work and attitude. Send me an email. And he literally posted his email, and so I was like, okay, whatever. I'll just send an email. He's never going to see it. He gets thousands of emails. I'll just do it anyways. Sent him an email. By chance, he saw it. I did like a culture test. I scored quite high in that, and then 2 days later, he was like flying me to London for a job interview. It's wild.
Insane. I think
Crazy.
It's so funny as you're talking, there's like two things that are going on in my mind. And those two things are every single thing you said. I was like, absolutely. Because now that I obviously hire, I'm like, I don't care how pretty, I could care less about how pretty your resume looks. And I think attitude and telling a story of who you are. Yes. To me, if I read a resume and it's like a story of someone and I can tell who they are as a human, that's going to get me so much further than sometimes even experience. Because I'm like, give me a bit of an insight into who you are. And then the other side that I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, fuck, when you have good staff, you need to look after them.
Yes. Because it's so true.
Do think that like young people like us, ambitious, hungry, like who know we're going to be successful, who know we're going to do big things, are not going to stick with just any job forever, you know, and they're the people that now I have a business. I'm like, you got to look after who is good in your business. Like it's so unbelievably important. And I think it's funny because I've only been doing Kaarme for 2 years, but I think I'm really learning that lesson now of like, there's two sides to every coin. There's good and bad, and good staff you want to keep, and it takes a lot to keep them.
Yeah. And like really, if you have amazing staff, you can get the buy-in from an incredible team member without, I think Stephen did this really well really early on before he had the success of Diary of a CEO and before he had all this like success under his belt. He got the buy-in of really incredible people to join his team without all of that shiny accolades, and he did it through inspiring people to like come on the journey because of the journey that you're on. And I think the best founders, what they do is they take their team on a journey, they reach the milestone so that you get the payoff, but there's always a new milestone ahead. Like once we reach the biggest podcast in the world, there'll be another goal for us to reach, and there already is other goals that we're reaching, you know. So like the best founders, to your point, to keep their team on board, I think you need to be able to inspire them towards something, allow them to feel the achievement, and then keep them moving through those things. Yes, keep them hungry, because otherwise they're going to get there and they're going to be like, cool, I ticked off the thing.
What's the next? What's the next business? What next are we building? What are we next doing?
Exactly.
I feel like with this role you're doing, I want to talk a bit about imposter syndrome. And I, not that I think you had it, but how do you go into a role like that? Like I can imagine you've sent this email, you're like, yep. It doesn't matter how confident you are. Surely you're still like on your first day, like, okay, holy fuck. And it might not be imposter syndrome for you, but did you have that feeling ever where you were like, oh shit, like act confident, no one questions, and now I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, like how do I figure it out?
Not really. That's crazy to say. Like it's weird. I think at the surface level, I feel that sometimes, but I do have like a deep knowing in me that I'm so capable. And I actually have this deep knowing within myself that I'm capable of this and so much more. 100%. And so that's what keeps me like continuing to like drive towards opportunities, because I just feel like I have so much to achieve in my lifetime. 100%. And I have this like really deep, and I think it's myself and it's also the people I surround myself with. Like my boyfriend will always be like, you're such a weapon. Like you're
weapon, so
yeah,
Australian.
He's the best.
You're a weapon boy.
Yeah, he's always like, you're a weapon. You're going to do amazing things. And he says it in the most casual way, but it always sticks with me. And so I do have this like a really deep self-belief. Yes. And I think that's what gets me into those rooms. And that doesn't like, I've said this before online, but like, I think some people are born with self-belief. I definitely think I was born with quite a lot of it, but I also think I've worked really hard to continue to build and grow it over time. And I think that's by doing like little things every single day that puts you into uncomfortable situations, dealing with uncertainty, like, you know, doing the hard thing every single day. Like if you're a content creator, going outside and filming in front of people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just like doing those little hard things to get over that anxiety, that imposter syndrome. And then eventually, if someone presents you this crazy opportunity, you can say, hell yeah, because I've got all this evidence that I've built up. Yes. And why wouldn't I?
I agree. I definitely think like when you were speaking about how you were born with a certain level of that, like I speak about this quite a lot, like knowing I was destined for something big, even though like I had no idea what it was. And sometimes people are always like, yeah, great. And I'm like, I can't describe it. It's like an indescribable feeling. And I do think sometimes like that confidence, like you just need, I think it's refreshing for people to just be like, yeah, I'm confident. I'm good. I'm all good.
Literally. And I have been since a young age. And it's funny because I think it's more relatable in some ways to say that I have imposter syndrome, but I actually think so many people can relate to this feeling of 100%. Having so much ambition and drive, knowing they're destined for something great, and like just working really hard to get it. And like that is 100% the journey I'm on.
I agree completely.
Not that it doesn't come without its challenges, but like I just choose to not believe in imposter syndrome. Do I like face challenges at work where I feel like, oh, maybe I'm not totally equipped to deal with this? Yes, but then I also know that I'm resourcevol enough to figure out how, and I'll get through it. I don't approach
the resourcefulness.
Yes, exactly.
I always say like even now people DM me about things. I'm like, if I don't know the answer, I'll find you the answer.
Exactly.
I don't act like I know everything. I don't even know half the things I need to know, but I'll find you the answer.
Yeah. And how did you build that feeling in yourself that when you come across those things that you're uncertain about, that you don't panic and go straight into imposter syndrome, anxiety?
I feel like I just don't care. Yeah. I think I'm like, well, I don't know it, so I'll find it. Like, I think if like, I don't know. I feel like it's just never really crossed my mind. Like if I don't know the answer to someone's question, like I'll just go and find it.
That's low ego to me.
Yeah, like I would say I don't really think I have a big ego. I think because I like,
Because when you have this deep belief in yourself, you no longer feel the need to have to prove yourself to everyone that you come across, because why do I care what you think when I already know what I am?
100%. And I just think also like if you're doing something like a podcast like this to help other people, the whole point is that you help them. If I can't answer your question, I'm going to find the answer to your question. I want to move into the world of marketing. I think we've had lots of incredible founders on the podcast and so many incredible people, but I think someone coming from your background, but B, your specialty in like what you're doing right now, you are boots on the ground doing like, and I know it's like, I don't want to say like it's not marketing. It is like what you do is marketing a human being, but you've marketed many brands. You're very well aware. I feel like marketing, the actual ecosystem of it, is so much more than just content on Instagram or TikTok.
Totally.
And your text on screen and whatever 5-step go viral situation we've got going on. And I think the depths in which you need at the moment to strategize, think, bring something new to the market, it can be so fucking overwhelming for not just like founders like myself, but for literally like anyone who's even thinking about posting a video or wanting to do something different. I want to know what you have found the difference between going from Australia to being over here in terms of marketing.
Yes.
And like, what have been the main things that you've seen? I know obviously you're doing a different job here than you were there and you're in a different landscape, but I would love to know that little thought.
I would say the UK and I've also spent a lot of time in the US as well. So I would say both, especially the US, is really light years ahead in terms of understanding like AI and how to incorporate like system thinking into their content and their marketing strategy. And I think that that's where Australia are lacking behind. I would also say that I think that when you're creating a content system, I think your podcast is such a great example of this. And I don't think enough brands are doing this in Australia, which is that you have a source material that allows you to distribute and scale and like the volume of your marketing presence. So for you, you've got this long form episode that you do weekly, is it? Weekly. Perfect. And is it like an hour usually? Perfect. An hour and a half of source material that you have every single week that you can chop up, send into a million different locations, and just scale the presence of your brand. So I think like every marketing...
In my head, I'm like, lol, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But I will eventually hire someone to do that. But I have it for when I need.
It's here,
yes,
right? And clipping is such a huge like aspect of being able to scale the distribution and the presence of a brand. And I think a lot of brands in the UK and the US do that really well. They have this like layered thinking around their marketing strategy that it's not just social. It's like, how do we build this brand world around our whole ecosystem? So I would say like having long form source material that you can repurpose in a million different ways, and then the short form feels so much easier. Like when you go onto Instagram and TikTok, you're not thinking of a million different individual content pieces. You've got this long form material that you can cut up. You post that allows you to scale the cadence and the volume of how often you're posting. And then the thinking behind your content can be more brand specific, because I think every great brand has two things really well balanced, which is they have volume and they have brand quality content.
Okay.
So like,
oh my God, I'm like eating this up. I'm like, tell me more, tell me more.
So like volume, I think every brand needs to be posting a lot on every platform. So finding the easy ways that you can do that. A podcast is a perfect way to do that. Then the other side is that you've got the volume. You also need to have depth and meaningful, I guess, interactions, touch points with your audience that build your brand world. So that's like your team content, your founder content, like all of that stuff. I think when you layer those two things together and you're able to create a world where those two things connect, you have the distribution, which is the awareness. You have the brand, that's like your middle of funnel trust building content. And then your conversion piece becomes so much easier.
You know who I think does that really well over in Australia?
Tell me.
Girls with Gems.
100%.
Holy
Their
fuck.
volume of content is insane.
Like
they're everywhere. They're all over my feed every single day.
Every day.
Every day.
I think I don't even know if I like the clothes.
I love their clothes, but I love their people.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I've never even bought a pair, or like I've never bought anything from the brand, but like I know I could tell you every piece that they're launching.
And I think what they do so well is that they still hero the product in the content. And I think what brands can get really caught up in is that they start scaling their distribution, but their product is nowhere to be seen. And that's where
completely agree.
And I think they do a really good job of really organically marketing their product without it feeling like an ad.
And it's such chill content. Like I think, because obviously I've been analyzing it all, and I'm like, how do they do this? Like, and they've just got that one queen. I think she's just the one beautiful queen that can sing. Is it Amy?
Yes, yeah.
What, she can just randomly sing as well. I was like,
so talented.
Singers, right? You. But I was like watching how she literally just. She edits, does the whole thing. It's like 6 times a day.
Yeah, but look at the content she's creating. She's not doing these extravagant edits. It is all about highlighting the personalities and bringing the most out of the team. And I even notice when they bring in new people, they're really working hard to bring out the personality and like really highlight the product. But when it comes to the content itself, she's not sitting there editing. I mean, I don't know. She can speak for herself. Yeah,
she'll say this.
But I'm looking at the edits. Yeah, like
it's simple.
I
agree.
It's really simple, and so. That's where you can win the volume game. It's not about like doing these crazy edits. It's about like how can you highlight a story or like a moment or a personality and just scale it as far as you can.
Agree. What is one way that you have found, or a tool that you found to be able to do that?
Okay, so I would say I would use, if I was doing something like that, what I would do is I would film a heap of content, like long form content, for example, your podcast. Let's use this as an example. I would then translate it into a transcript.
Okay.
I would train Claude to pick up the different clip moments in your transcript.
Yeah.
I would feed it into there and be like, tell me all of the clips that I can edit from this and give me the timestamps based on the transcript. It'll come back and be like, here's 8 different clips you can cut up. You just go cut on like CapCut, Premiere Pro, whatever you're using. Yeah. Export all those different cuts, chuck captions on the screen and like a hook text, and then just go bang, 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 post them all.
It's like post them all at once? Or you just post them all
depends
like
what channel.
Daily, okay.
Yeah, so like if you're using TikTok, you can just like post as much as you want.
Yeah.
If you're using Instagram, I would just like space it out a bit. So like throughout the week, just schedule it all. Yeah. You can even just schedule it all in app and just be like, okay, 2-3 times a day. Like this is what Girls with Gems do really well. They just like every couple hours, something new goes live. It's crazy.
Constant.
It's constant.
And I think we've just hired an incredible girl, Tegan, to come on full time. But before that, I did everything myself. let me just tell you, it was very scrappy and it looked very slutty.
Perfect,
and I look back and I think, oh my Lord. But anyways, that's not an issue. But even having her now, I'm like, I need 10 of you. It is
She can do it, 100%.
She can 100. She's an absolute icon. But I don't think people realize that for a role like that, there's so much that goes into it as well. Like, you know, it's dense. And I think about your role you're doing right now, you know, like the strategy behind content is a whole different fucking ball game.
Yeah.
That is a beast of a thing.
Totally.
Also, like, some things work, some things don't work. You're constantly pivoting. You're thinking, is this like what worked? Oh my God, it's never ending.
Yeah, it's never ending. But I think that the more shots you take with content, the more you learn.
Yeah.
And that's why volume is also so important, because if you're posting 3 times a week, like, you're getting the slowest learnings of all time.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone doing that, but like, you really are just like slowly getting these learnings. Whereas if you post 3 times a day, I know so many people will listen to this and just feel so overwhelmed by it, but you have to find a way to make it work for you. If you really like want to take your brand, for example, like scaling it really seriously, like this is like the best strategy. It's just like, how can I scale the content output? And I think the best way to do with that is by having people like Amy at Girls with Gems, who have a real personality that bring it out of other people.
Yes.
And then the content itself is so simple, because it's not about the edit, it's about the person and the product. Yeah. And then it's easy.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I want to talk about you in terms of like, what are you loving over here? Like, who over here are you watching on socials and you're like, they're going to be massive or they're doing it right?
Okay, you know, I'm actually watching a brand from Australia over here that I'm loving to follow.
Okay.
Kinzo. Have you heard of these guys?
Yes. They're Gold Coast guys, hey?
Yeah.
Fuck, their content's good and their structure and what they're doing.
Do you know what's crazy? They've like made, I think, $0 in revenue. It's insane. And they're just like absolutely killing it. And they're just starting. They're only just onboarding our team now to their app. And their presence is so strong. And I think they have this really great 360 marketing view of their business, which is that I'm getting the POV of their team members on all their personal accounts. And the founder perspective is really strong. And then I'm getting a really good taste of the content itself, like the product itself. Did you see the Kinturn series they did?
I actually, you know what's so funny? I haven't seen really anything about their actual business, but I could tell you all their stuff and exactly what's happening. And one girl wants to go on leave and she's done a spreadsheet thingy. And then like, I could tell you everything that's happening, but I haven't looked at what actually Kinzo does. Like,
they haven't fully launched it yet.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're like,
that's insane.
I think wait till they like fully launch it to the public and open up the wait list, and then I think it's going to be huge. But I think they've done a really good job at bringing that like human personality marketing into the mix. But I really love how they've utilized their team members' personal brands and presence as well to build on that from a lot of different perspectives. And I think what they do well, like a lot of businesses doing well these days, is balancing both human and AI. And I think that's really important, because if you have too much human, you're going to get caught up and not be able to keep up with the way the market is moving. And if you have too much AI, you're going to lose the human. So like finding a way to like have the human side of the content really shining through, but then using AI in whatever areas of your marketing to scale it, to like relieve the admin from your team. You know, things like finding like, there's so many AI clippers out there that can literally clip up podcast episodes. Like the most simple tasks that you can do that your team members are doing, like how do you relieve that from them so that then their creative thinking is tenfold?
100%. Do you think that was because obviously their strategy, they have employer generated content, but it's on their own platforms. Like they have like, you know, I think one of the girls is called Talia, is she? Yeah. Wouldn't even know. But do you think that is the new kind of way brands are going to, because I don't know their actual structure, whether they get something out of it, whether they get commission back. I'm unsure. I'm sure there's a reason why they're all working so hard. Obviously, I know they probably get well looked after, but there would be some kind of like incentive for that. Do you think that is a good structure to go with, or does that worry you because they're building a brand off a different, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
I totally know it. I think they all have a stake in the business.
I agree.
Which makes a huge difference. Yes. And I think that if you have employees and you're building a brand totally around your employees' faces, then I think like you're not diversifying your risk. You're not spreading your risk. And I think that's what Girls with Gem do really well, is that I recognize Leah, Renee, Amy, Daniel now is there, like who is Daniel? What does he do? No one knows. But like they have such a like team, a cast of people that if one person leaves, it doesn't like, obviously you're going to feel it, but it's not going to feel like everything collapses.
Yes.
And so I think, you either have to create a strategy. If you have employees in your content, you have to create a strategy where you're propping up multiple characters in your cast just to like monitor the risk. And then the other thing is, if you are going to really heavily rely on employees, like thinking about incentives like a stake in the business, means that they're going to have like way more longevity in your company long term, and also more investment in how that content performs.
Because it's funny that you say that, because recently in the Gold Coast in Australia, there's been a few of the main content girls leave brands that we all would have seen.
Yeah.
And it's been very like interesting as a founder to acknowledge and watch and absorb the kind of conversation surrounding them, because even though probably half of them have just left their job and it's like not a big deal, because there's no acknowledgement, there's no like conversation, there's nothing. It feels so jarring as a consumer, because you're like, well, where's little Johnny?
Totally.
Like, where's he gone from the front of that? And then it's kind of like this like whispering corridor of like, oh, well, they've obviously had this bad falling out and blah, 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 blah. And it's interesting, and it's had me think a lot about like, you know, ensuring that whoever you hire is definitely diversified and isn't just like the absolute face of your brand if that's not what you want.
Exactly. And that you still maintain a presence in that. Like, if you can maintain a founder presence in that, like, I think of Girls with Gems again as the same example.
Leah, sponsor us.
Yeah.
Girls with Gems.
Hello, where's our place?
Yeah.
Leah is the like center point of
100.
that brand. And so like at the end of the day, we would miss those girls if they left, and they're so amazing and they're so great at what they do. But like a lot of people are there for the founder. And I think if you're a founder based business like yourself, like continuing to maintain that presence is always going to help that.
Absolutely. I feel like, so volume, figuring out a way to make it as easy as humanly possible.
Yeah, and then keeping that brand presence. Like, for example, our metrics, what's really interesting is that we have different, I guess, objectives in different teams. And my team in particular, our social media objective is to like really think about the sentiment and the community that we're building.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily, we're not playing the volume game, other teams are, but really thinking about not only the distribution and the volume, but also when you're reading the comments, when you've got 50 comments versus 100 comments, and 100 comments is like emojis or just people saying, love this. And you've got 50 comments on another post that are like, wow, this changed my life. I never thought about it in this way. Wow, I'm running to buy right now. Like all of those really deep intent comments. How are you weighing up the performance of your content and making sure that you're not just thinking about big numbers, but also thinking about depth of relationship with your audience?
100. I think that's a really important conversation. And I think that kind of comes back to ego, I think, when you're first starting a brand, because you kind of want everyone to be like, love what you're doing, like love this, rah, rah, rah. But you do want those conversations. You want feedback. You want to really know if what you're putting out there, especially with what you're doing, you know what I mean? Like trying to tell someone's, I guess, story and build connection. You want to make sure it's actually landing and it's working. So when you're posting content in your job, or even for yourself or previous brands, what do you think the best metric is to look for?
Okay, I think saves and shares are a really good indication of a content's performance, because I always think about it like this. Saves and shares give you a second chance of someone seeing that content, because if someone's shared it either on their stories or their DMs, they're obviously helping your distribution. They're sending it to more people. Automatically, that one person is now turned into potentially 10, 20, 100 people. And saves, they're coming back to it a second time. So again, you're getting a second win in the algorithm, because they see it once, they save it, they come back to it a second time. Whereas a like and a comment kind of ends there. It's like you like, you comment, nothing happens beyond that. But a save and a share, it's like this returning win to your content. So I think saves and shares are deep intent. And a lot of people also, you think about your introverted followers, they're not always going to comment on your post. And sometimes I feel really moved by content and I save it or I share it to someone, and who knows, maybe it brought me to tears. I'm watching this like, you know, person come home from war or whatever it is.
Oh God, they always
do you know what I mean? And I send it to someone, or like a puppy being found after years being lost. And I send it to my boyfriend, but I never comment being like, I'm in tears. And so like for that person posting that puppy being found, their indication of that content's performance is going to be the comments plus how many people have shared it with their friends. Those silent watchers, I think, is the thing that we always forget about.
Yeah. What do you think at the moment? I think what I'm finding, because you've got your own business, and because I think in the future you'll probably end up doing it again. If you were to start a brand right now, what would be like your main focus in terms of brand building in this climate?
Ooh, such a good question.
Alongside content, obviously, because content is king?
Okay, I would think about the first 3 to 5 people that I'm hiring and making sure that they are setting the culture for the next 10 years.
Yeah. And how are we doing that? Tell me.
I think you have to be so specific at who you're hiring.
Absolutely.
And then I think you have to be so specific at the culture that you're setting that binds them together.
Yes.
And I think that too many people leave culture in a business up to chance. And then you just kind of go like, oh, if I hire good people, culture will build itself. One of my favorite things that I ever heard was that culture never drifts towards health. It drifts towards like illness, whatever the opposite of health is. Naturally, you can hire the best people in the world. It is always going to drift towards a like worse state than it started in, because that's just the nature of humans and the nature of becoming disgruntled over time, losing your ambition, losing your whatever it is. And so I think if you keep that in mind, you realize as a founder that culture is not a one and done job. It is a forever evolving thing that you have to keep your eye on as a founder. And so I think that keeping that in mind alongside the first 5 to 10 people you hire are going to essentially be the people that create that culture for the future. They're going to amplify whatever you build at the start. So those 5 people, if you instill in them these values, your way of working, the way they inspire each other and speak to each other, the way they operate together, then automatically every new hire you bring in is going to like feel that when they come in the room. That was like one of the first things I noticed at the current job that I'm in, is that you could walk in the building and without anyone saying a word to you, you could feel the ambition. It was like the craziest feeling in the world. I've never really felt that in a workplace before, but you could feel the ambition, the drive, the hunger, and the like camaraderie as soon as you walk in the building. And I think that like building that in your team means that when you're able to scale to a 20, 50, 100 person team, it scales that culture instead of you always needing to like train it into every single new hire. It trains, the culture trains it into every person.
Absolutely.
Itself.
What do you think as a employee where you are now that your boss does that?
I think, well, I definitely think the people play the biggest card in that. I also think that our bosses, they've codified, something I really love about my workplace is that they've codified their cultural values. So like, for example, they say sweat the small stuff. So that's like, and sweat the small stuff and like outcare the competition are like 2 values that kind of go hand in hand. And the idea is that if your competition is caring about something, we're going to care more. Does your competition care about the size of the text on a piece of content, or are they just kind of like making it whatever size they look good? Are they not like optimizing and thinking about like the user experience? So we're going to care more about the size of a text on a carousel, because in all those tiny little wins, that's where we're going to get ahead. And so I say this to say that is really easy for me to recognize in my work day to day, outcare the competition, because it's almost like a ringing voice in my head, this like codified language that's been brought into the business. And you can walk into our company and hear things like sweat the small stuff, 1% gains, paper walls, all of these things that we've been taught that I didn't hear before I walked into this workplace, and now they are so part of like the way I work. I think like finding your values and not just saying them and, you know, putting them on a piece of paper on the wall and being like, these are our values, but also like, how do you translate them in their day-to-day job that they can then say to each other when they're working on things like, oh, sweat the small stuff, don't forget, like we should think about this one more time.
That's what I was just thinking as you were talking. I thought, I bet you all naturally hold each other to the same standard as well, because that's kind of what obviously your workplace values. So you value. That's so important, I think, to think about as a founder, because I can definitely say from my point of view, it's so overwhelming. You go from having no staff to having all these people ask you questions, and they, you know, you want to lead the best way you lead. And I obviously know everyone starts somewhere. So I think it's something to acknowledge. It's like not everyone knows exactly what they're doing from day dot, but I think it is really, really important. And I think even coming from workplaces, if you stand for nothing, like if you stand for nothing, then no one really knows what they're doing. And it ends up kind of being a bit of like a fairy party. Like there's no there's no communal thing you're working towards.
Exactly. And I think when that happens, what you were saying just then about like, if you stand for nothing, I think that
what is that saying?
If you stand for nothing, I don't know.
What is that saying? It's kind of like, if you're for everyone, you're for no one.
Yes.
Anyways, whatever. It like came in and it left. And I was like, what the fuck was that saying?
But the idea is that like, it's the same thing with culture. if you are for everyone, you're for no one. Something like that.
Yeah.
If you
We'll just go for a wine after this.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later.
Oh God.
I think that like when you have a culture that's so tight, it's not going to be for everyone.
Yes.
Some people will walk into our business, which is it's like, to me, I walk into this culture and I'm like, what a freaking dream. I didn't even realize that culture like this existed. Some people would walk into the same culture and be like, hell no, get me the hell out of here. And I think that's actually better than worse, because it means that people will weed themselves out.
I agree.
Like, people will come in and leave super quickly, and you don't need to like wait until they're 6 to 12 months into a role to figure out that they're not a good fit for the company. They'll figure it out themselves super fast, and you can keep it moving. And so I think that like having a strong culture like that, it's not going to be for everyone, but the people that it's for, it'll be like seriously for them, and they will be all in and invested in it.
Do you think a lot of the people that work in your workplace now are entrepreneurs?
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. We call it like a founder mentality. They literally hire for a founder mentality. And whether you have been a founder or not, they actually ingrain it into us that you should have a founder mentality in this workplace. And what that means is also taking full ownership of your work and being accountable to it. Someone said to me at work the other day, I actually put myself down and I said, oh, I'm not the CEO or anything. And they said, you're the CEO of the social media. Like, you're the CEO of that role. And I was like, oh, like, that's such a great way of thinking of it. Like, I'm the social media manager. No, you're the CEO of the social presence or whatever it is.
It reframes it from being like, well, that's your job and that's my expectation of you.
Yeah.
When it empowers you to be like, okay, well, actually, this is my thing. This is a representation of me.
That is the perfect way to put it. It's like, this is an extension of my brand.
Because everyone knows, like, I think that like this job that you have right now is so like pinnacle, and I guess in how the world sees you. You know what I mean? You might have been a brand builder for freaking ever, but this is like a pinnacle time in your career. And people like, this is where people approach people. This is like this is where that whole thing starts, you know, and this is where people really know you. Yeah,
and I think that is so perfect to put, because I think one thing that we lack a little bit in Australia is like accountability, and there's a little bit of entitlement in our employees in Australia. I love you all, but like there is like a little bit of entitlement, and I think it's very easy for employees in Australia in particular, because they're so well looked after in so many ways, to say like, you know, well, I'm an employee, I don't own this business, I shouldn't have the same level of responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a big believer in what I put in doesn't just pay dividends for the founder that I'm working for, it pays dividends for me. Like, if I'm staying, this is just my mentality, and not everyone is going to agree with this, but I'm like, I will stay late back from work. I will do work on the weekends. That's just the way I'm wired, maybe because I've been a founder in the past. And people will say like, are you getting paid overtime? People are taking advantage of you. Like, why would you do that? You're not getting paid for that. Like, you shouldn't be investing your time. You need to, in my opinion, I'm investing into myself. Yes, I'm investing into the business, but I know that it pays dividend for me to be working that hard in the long run. And I've seen it play out time and time and time again in my career, that I've always gone further than what's expected of me, and it's always paid off, whether it's a promotion in the long run, whether it's my next role being able to like leverage everything that I've learned and all that extra experience that I've gained. I've moved faster in my career than I would have if I hadn't. Agree. That was my little rant.
Agree. No, because I do agree.
It's
and
true,
I think I've had jobs before where my friends have been like, you work too much, or you do too, and I think like, okay, and I've kind of gotten a little bit disorientated, and now I'm like, I just couldn't imagine not. You know, I think when you have so much drive and you're so ambitious, it's just second nature.
Yeah. And it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. And that's actually just okay.
Yeah.
I think like, and I actually, coming back to Girls with Gems again for the 10th fucking time, I saw Leah speak about how like she is like how she leads. Yeah. And how she has like really high expectations, and why wouldn't she, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to quote her because I can't remember. But I remember listening to that and feeling a real like sense of, it's actually just okay to have high expectations.
Can I tell you the craziest story?
Oh my God, hit me.
Okay, high expectations equals high potential. So this is a story that I heard from Business Coach a couple of years ago. Basically, there was this school in Australia. It was like one of the highest performing high schools. Yeah. And they were like outperforming in all of their VCE, whatever you call it, like metrics of their like year 12 students. Something they had in their way of working was this thing called high expectations equal high potential. And what that means is, when you say to the students, you're going to get an A plus. I know you can do it. I have high expectations from you. It allowed them, it created this like space from where they currently are to where their expectation is to rise to the opportunity. And what happens, what I've noticed is when you say to someone like, oh, you're not going to do well, or like when you're raising a kid and you say, oh, they're a bad kid, automatically you've set their ceiling so low that they already feel like that's as far as they can go. It trains in yourself. And what happened was there was another school that was underperforming in Australia. Their principal went to this school, learnt this way of thinking, this high expectations equals high potential, and they translated it into their school, and they like, I don't know what it was, like 20x their scores in a couple years. And it was like a really underdeveloped, low economic school. And it was all because they created this new way of thinking, which was, I'm going to set these really high expectations for these students, and it's going to feel hard and uncomfortable for them at times because they're going to be like, why are you pushing me so hard? But it gave them this void within their expectations where they can be like, I can rise to the standards. And what it's doing subconsciously as well is giving them belief that it's like, I know you're capable of this. Yes. So I actually love that she does, like Leah does that, because I think it's so true. And I don't think we do it enough for ourselves either.
Yes. No, I completely agree. And I think it comes to everything, like friendships, relationships. Like I think every part of my life I have high expectations in. And I think I've always felt a little bit like, maybe I need to chill a little bit. And in the last like maybe 4 months, I've been like, actually, no. I unapologetically want high expectations in everything I do.
Yeah.
From my staff, from my friends, from relationships, from dating, whatever I'm doing, I have high expectations for who I am and who someone else is in that relationship or dynamic. And I think when I listened to her speak about it, I was like, Australia, we all know, is like a major tall poppy syndrome. This is why people like me and you go from Australia. Yeah. And we go to the US or the UK. Because I think in other countries, we haven't, for some reason, they haven't adopted this, like, once you're too big, we're just going to bring you down. If you say that, you're a bad boss, you have too higher expectations, there's this and blah, 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 blah. And I think having the freedom to just be like, I'm actually a really good boss. I'm not perfect, but like I do have high expectations. It's so freeing.
100%. It's so wild, the difference that I feel in both countries. It's so
insane,
mad.
Hey,
yeah,
it's literally insane. And I think for someone like yourself, working in a workplace that, like you've said, has high expectations, everyone wants big things. You walk in there and you're like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know what's funny? Over here, someone said to me, wow, every Aussie that I meet is so driven and so ambitious. And I say, yeah, because they're over here.
Yes.
You're meeting the ones that have like wanted more for themselves. They're like, I need to break free of this way of living, this like kind of society that we live in Australia. I need to go experience something else. And then it's funny because then everyone over here is just like, wow, Aussies are so ambitious. I'm like, yeah, the ones that escaped.
Yes, we escaped it.
I know.
Honestly.
And I love Australia so much. It's like my home. It's my favorite place in the world. But I think that there's so much work to be done around that, like the way that we see each other. And it's so hard to undo because it's so ingrained. And I don't know if one person can change it. I want to say that we can, but it's just so deeply ingrained in our society to feel that way.
It's in school. I think it's so much more than even just society. I think it's schooling. It's how we're raised. We're not like an overly entrepreneurial, encouraged country, I would say. Like even at school, like there was no conversation about like if you want to have a business, it was like go be a nurse. Like that's what I did. I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Didn't even know
have you ever heard me talk about tryhards? I always talk about being a tryhard and how I've like claimed this title. I remember my last workplace said to me, you are such a tryhard. And I was like, how dare you say that to me? And they're like, no, that's the best thing about you. I was like, how funny is it that when we're in high school, we get called tryhards?
Yes.
Trying hard is literally what tryhard means. And we're shamed for it. Like it's a negative word. And still to this day, sometimes I hear it and they're like, oh, it's a bit tryhard, isn't it? And I'm like, and they're trying hard. What's so bad about that? So now I call myself a tryhard and I'm like,
I love it. She's got her badge of honor.
I'm number one tryhard, 100%.
No, but I do. I love it. And I think that we need to encourage it more, especially especially around staff. Like, it's like I brought on Tegan recently, our content girl, and everyone was like, oh, so do you just let her post or like what do you do? And I said, yeah. I'm not gonna bring someone on and then be like, well, you can't. It's got to post this and you can't do this and you can't, like, what are you hiring them for then?
Because that's the high expectations in action.
Yeah, I'm hiring you because it's you and because I feel like you can do that job. I'm not going to give you a 3-step system and pop that in here and I'll review it. If I don't like it, I'll delete it and then we'll reassess it and we'll move forward.
But with that comes great responsibility.
Yes.
And then what that fosters in your team when you allow them to have that freedom, and then you say to them, but take it seriously.
Yeah.
I'm giving you freedom, but like you have to understand this is our company channels.
Yes.
This is not to be like messed with.
Yes.
This is a serious marketing platform, but I trust you enough to do it. Then every piece of content, they're going to agonize over it more.
Absolutely.
Because they know that everything that goes out is either making or breaking your trust.
Yes.
And they're going to take it more seriously. Whereas if everything's going to you for approvals, they're just going to be like, oh, whatever, I'll just send whatever and she'll pick up on it and I don't really care because it has to go through her.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, because she's approved it, her head's on the chopping block.
Agreed.
Whereas when you allow them to do that, it's like, yeah, but with high trust comes high responsibility and you're going to be accountable for those outcomes, but I trust you.
Yeah. And I think it is a trust in both ways. I think, I don't expect it to be perfect at all. I don't expect anyone that works for me, and everyone's going to make mistakes. And I would hope that you have a relationship just like, I'm sure you have with your boss. It's like, if something went wrong, you just fix it and it's all good, but everyone learns a lesson. Like the amount of lessons I have learned from fuck ups I've had or mistakes or even dumb shit like spelling errors. And I think, God, like put it through ChatGPT, Millie. What is wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's so annoying. But all those things, that's what builds someone. That's what builds their confidence and who they are.
Yeah, I've definitely had to go through a long journey with like trust as a boss, as a founder, and like hiring a team and being able to let go of things and allow. And I've come to this place now where I say to people sometimes, like, I'll like, for example, I have a management team at Soundcheck. Sometimes they'll say to me in the past, they'll be like, oh, I jumped in and did it for them because I was really nervous that I'd go live. And something I always say to them is, let it fuck up.
Yeah,
let it fuck up, because you need to see where the gap is. Like you need to see where things are falling down and where you're propping things up. And then they can learn from it and let the thing go live that is shit and then be like, hey, that should never have gone live. We just got feedback from a customer, read this feedback, now you understand.
Yes. Because I also think like I'm a see to believe. If I don't do something and make the mistake, and it's funny because Kat, my best friend who works for me, I've got something in my human design where I learn from error. It's like a part of me, and I always used to think like it was just personality trait. Anyways, it's some human design woo-woo. But I think it's so true. Everything that I really do think about now in depth is something that I've made a giant mistake on and been like, God, that is mortifying.
But don't you think that's because you are someone that is like deeply, deeply ingrained in the idea of like, how do you know, like, show me that it's real. I need to tangibly.
I agree.
Like if someone tells me, hey, Instagram has better distribution than TikTok, I'm like, show me that it's real. Like I need to fully comprehend and see something with my own eyes to like really grasp it and believe it. And I want to believe things with my whole body.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't do that until I see it in front of me. And I think that's why you're the way you are, because I'm the same, where it's like, I would actually rather make the mistake. And now I believe with my whole body that it is or isn't right.
Yes, I agree. I want to ask you one thing. I saw that you were, because obviously I watch your TikToks, and I saw you speaking about, and I want to get it right, a T-shaped career.
Yes.
I found this conversation so interesting, and I think these are the little bits of nuggets of wisdom that you probably don't know that you put out there because it's you and your brain and the way you work. But these are little things that you share on social media that I'm like, oh, that is just like so informative.
Wow. That's
like,
so cool.
It really is. So I want you to run me through the idea, and anyone listening, because I think it's like those little things and these little moments on podcasts that people probably take and are like, oh, that's going to stick with them.
Good. Okay. So a T-shaped career. Someone said this to me a while ago and it stuck with me. So hopefully it'll do the same for everyone.
Yes. Strap in. Everyone strap in.
The idea is, if you think of a T visually, it has a horizontal line and it has a vertical line. The horizontal line represents your broad knowledge across your career. So you want to, like, if we're talking about a marketing career, for example, you want to have a broad understanding of social media, of CRM. You want to understand paid ads. You want to understand, out of home marketing.
Yes.
You want to have a broad understanding of the whole ecosystem, and actually not just marketing. You want to understand finance, and you want to understand, whatever it is, supply chain, so that you understand your piece in the whole puzzle.
Yes.
So that's the horizontal line. It's the broad knowledge across everything. Then you have the vertical line, which is the deep expertise. And so you should have at least one, but sometimes, people start to develop multiple lines of deep knowledge in one specific specialty area. So for me, I have really broad understanding across business and marketing, but I have a deep expertise in social media. And so that's like the ideal career that I feel everyone should paint for themselves, or like everyone should be ambitious towards. And it came because I saw a TikTok from a girl who was saying, I'm so overwhelmed. Do I have to be an expert in all these different areas of marketing? I just can't, like, how am I supposed to focus on all these things? And I commented on the TikTok and I said, focus on a T-shaped career, get a broad understanding of all of those things, but pick one that you're really passionate about to get a really deep understanding of.
Yes.
And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so much less overwhelmed. That makes so much sense. And I think once you have that deep line of expertise, you can start to think about what's my second, what's my third, what's my fourth that I add into the mix. But yeah, that released the overwhelm for me, because I think we all put pressure on ourselves to be experts at everything, and you don't have to be.
Especially when you're young and ambitious, because you want to feel like you know everything and you're bringing everything to the table. But I think when I was listening to you talk about it, I just thought like how freeing as well, because I do think when people say to you like, what do you do, or what are you passionate about, whatever, sometimes like before having a business, I was like, I love social media, I love marketing, I love blah, 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 blah. But I didn't really know like, well, what am I telling them? Because everyone
I still feel that way.
Loves that, you know?
Yeah.
So when I was like listening to you talk about it, I was like, that is such a good way to create confidence in when someone asks you a question, or, you know, whatever, you're applying for a job, whatever, you can literally talk about that.
What would your T be, do you think?
I think honestly my T would be like the obsession with like human behavior and why people buy. And like, I think I wouldn't say that I have it down packed just yet, because like I love social media. I really do, but I wouldn't have the obsession that say like you would have. I actually find it quite like, I mean, I do a million things, so it's probably just like an overwhelm, but I find it, I love designing. I love making a piece of jewelry. I love my part in that, and I can't stand distributing it. I lose all interest. I have ADHD. I'm like, okay, on to the next design.
Shiny object syndrome,
shiny
literally.
object. And like, you know, we'll launch it and then we don't talk about it for 6 months. And I'm like, that is just so me coded. But I do find I get like a really obsessed with like, why is that person TikTok famous? Or why did that piece go viral? Or how do girls with gems do what they do? Like, I find it's more just like with my brain, I've got a lot of thinking, and I'm very like, well, how do you build that human connection? And then I'm like really on the community thing at the moment, people building communities, but I think everyone can build followers, but not everyone can build a community.
No. Yeah.
And I think we've really gone down this pipeline of community, which I love. That's like my whole brand. But I think that people think it's a bit of a fad and it's what you have to do. You can't just build one. It's a ecosystem. It's what you create.
Yes.
It's who you are. It's what you're willing to give. And I think I like, you know, obviously I'm like you. I speak to lots of people in the industry all the time. And a few people will be like, yeah, I'm going to build this community for my brands and blah, 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 blah. But I don't want to be like forward facing, or I don't want to be on, like, I don't want to give too much. I'm like, that's not saying you want to have a kid, but you only want to parent 3 times a week.
Totally.
That's not what you want then.
Yeah.
You want a community because you think it's shiny object and it's going to work. Like, it doesn't work for everyone.
No. The way I think about community is like, community is the construct, but belonging is actually the goal. And like when you
put that on a fucking t-shirt.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, I think everyone wants community. It's like, sure, you can bring 100 people in a room together.
Amen.
Great. Community. Call it community. But do they feel belonging in that room?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that is the goal of brands with community. And if you're not making those people feel a sense of belonging in that room, it's not really a community. No. It's like you've just brought people. I did a whole Substack post on this, like,
I need to rack your brain afterwards about that.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. I did this whole Substack post on like this beach activation I saw, and it was like the most cringe beach activation. No offense, it was Bondi Sands, and they did this, and they did this beach activation, and it was like, everyone come, community event, we're giving away free tan. And they like, people were rocking up, getting like some fake tan and leaving. I'm like, great, that is a public activation, that is not community. No. And like, community is like bringing people in a room, what connects and binds those people, and like bringing that out of them and making them feel a sense of belonging. And I think too many people just want to slap like community on like as a label to any of their like customer facing events. It's not community. Yeah. Transparently.
No, agree.
Yeah.
And I do find it really interesting, and I watch it and I think, I don't know, I feel so passionately about what I'm building, and like the community and like what I want in the future. And I think a lot of people sometimes that I speak to probably are more financially focused, which is so incredibly fine. Like you can do whatever you want to do, but I find it very jarring sometimes when I'm like, oh my God, I really want to build something that matters and I really want to like do it right and be honest and vulnerable. And I think everyone can do it in their own way, but yeah, you can't just like slap community on a Facebook group and be like, this is how we're going to do it. It just
say it louder.
Yeah, like you need to be a part of that community and be willing to
But you're playing
give.
the long game. That's what you're doing. And like it's so easy to chase the short-term financial wins. It's like a sugar rush.
Yeah.
But like you are playing the long game and it will pay dividends over time. And if it's like, it really just depends on your goals as a business. Are you looking to scale a business and sell and exit in like 2-3 years time? Like, sure, do it. Like you can build it on rocky foundations because you know you're not here forever. Or are you someone that really wants to like put your heart into something and like build it with meaning and intent and have it last a long time and be a part of this growth for a really long time. And I think that like what the game you're playing is longevity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I've got 2 more questions for you.
Can't wait.
As you were talking about paid ads, I'm like, I need to ask her about it.
Tell me.
I just feel like the world of paid ads is obviously like no one knows the answer. Let's be honest. In your experience in terms of like, we have Meta, we have TikTok, we have all the things, blah, 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 blah. How do you or how would you approach it as a brand owner these days?
Okay. I would focus on engagement campaigns first of all. Before you even do any retargeting conversion campaigns, I would focus on engagement campaigns. What that means is you're utilizing your organic content and you're putting spend behind your organic content, not necessarily boosting it through like Instagram, but like using Facebook Ads Manager to create a campaign where the objective is engagement and you're putting your existing posts into that campaign as the asset. And then the cost on those ads is so freaking low. You could do it for like $5 a day. It's so cheap. And then really what you're doing is you're filling your funnel up because you are creating this like pool of people that when you turn on your conversion campaigns, you have a whole lot of people to retarget. Yes. But the creative in those ads is so freaking important. And I think this is what people need to focus on with their paid ads at the moment. And I think it's really easy to like enter a course, enter a group setting where you're like learning the structure behind your campaigns and your ads. It matters so much less now than the creative in front of them. And so I think truthfully, if you're investing in your paid ads, you should actually put more money into the creative than you should the management and the structure and the setup. Controversial. No, but I think it's so important because like when I'm scrolling, I don't care what back-end objectives and campaigns they have set up and they're targeting. If I don't resonate with the creative, I'm scrolling past it. It's as simple as that. It's like the most customer facing downstream thing. So you need to focus on that first. And I think with an engagement campaign, if you set up creative that is like really going to resonate with them at a first glance, so thinking about your coldest audience, what are they going to like? I think usually a good indication of that is the content that has performed the best in terms of views on your page because it's resonated with the most amount of people. So putting spend behind that, letting that build for a while, and then when you create a conversion campaign, you can do a retargeting campaign to the people that have liked your content and start moving them through the funnel with more creative types that are starting to highlight your products more or the benefits or the features or like really helping them get to know the team and build trust. And then by the time they watch that, it's like so much easier for them to convert because they've made their way through the funnel. So literally just thinking of the principle, the old school first principle around the marketing funnel. But the creative is like where all of the strategy lies, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so refreshing hearing you talk about that because I think I've always felt very like, I don't want to say disorientated around ads, but I've always just felt like conversion is not the only thing. Obviously, we all need to make money. We all have businesses. I completely get it. But I think people just undervalue the ecosystem of what you're like. It's a full funnel situation. It's not just like you post on TikTok, you post on Instagram your things, and then you do your conversion ads. Yeah. People need a lot of nourishment. They need a lot of touch points. They need a lot of like, come in, look what we're doing. And I think it's a lot of like, and we're still learning this at Kaarme because I'm not going to lie, trying to figure out contents for paid ads that's a whole different kettle of fucking fish. You know what I mean? I think then you overthink it and then you're like, what am I doing? And it feels so salesy. Whereas I have just found that the best thing you can do is just literally that.
Yeah. And like, honestly, this goes for paid ads, it goes for marketing, it goes for personal brands. I think you just need to figure out your one thing that you stand for and stand for it. In every piece of asset that you create, it makes it so much easier because you're not thinking like, what's the next creative idea that I can create with this necklace? You're thinking of what is it I stand for and how do I tell that story through the product? And like I have a friend at the moment that she's like my hobby, like building her TikTok. She's my hobby.
She's my Barbie doll and I'm dressing her up.
Literally, she's like my TikTok muse. I'm just like, every day I'm like texting her being like, this is what you need to do, thinking about this. And her one thing that she's driving at the moment is this idea that she's like a recovering minimalist. So all of her fashion, it's like you can do outfit of the days every single day of the week, but what's the like through line through all of your content?
Yes, this is what I struggle with. I just post whatever and none of it goes together and everyone's like, what are you doing? I'm like,
what's the like message that you continue to come back to? And it doesn't have to be necessarily every piece of content, but it has to be this like resonating thing so that like it was a good indication for me at the start of this podcast when you were like struggling to wrap. Like you were like, there was so many parts of your story because something that I know I need to work on is being like, when people describe me, what do they say in one sentence?
I completely agree. Because everyone knows you, like when you speak about you in rooms, but everyone has different like
perspectives.
You're known for this, you're known for this, you're known for this. And I'm like, it is very interesting.
Yes, so interesting. And I know that that's something that I need to work on more, but brands should apply this too because it just makes it easier.
Agree.
You just think of your one thing. It's like every piece of content comes back to that purpose.
I'm going to rack your brain. Why?
Yes, let's figure it out afterwards.
I want to end this podcast by asking you one thing.
Go.
I know right now, obviously, what you're doing right now, you'll be doing for a while, but what is the dream of Zara? Like, what is the big, big goal?
Oh my God, I don't know. I think
or the 100, you know.
Yeah. I think what is the big goal? Well, my immediate goal is like I have so much to achieve in this role that I'm so excited about. Like I feel like I haven't really had my big moment there or like in any big moment. I'm like I want to have quite a few of them, but like I feel like, you know, when I look at my past roles, it's easy for me to say like I launched a Black Friday campaign that was 3x their previous. It's like that's the moment that I can hold on to. Yes. I haven't had that in this role yet. Like I haven't achieved something that's really tangible and I really, really want to get my hands into that. Yeah. So I'm like really working hard to do that. And I'm not saying that that's like a one and done thing, but that's like something that's really in my immediate. I want to like work really hard to achieve something and be like, I did that.
Absolutely.
You know? It's just so much more fulfilling. And then in the long term, I honestly, something I've always done is just like followed this is such a like PR answer, but like I've just always followed my intuition and my gut and I always do that. And I don't often have a plan ever.
No, I don't think any of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And I think I'm just like going with what feels right now and whatever that next step is. And for me, it's right now. It's like really learning London, possibly like, who knows, moving to LA at some point and like really getting to know another region and just thinking about that next step.
I could see you like, I don't want to say consulting because it's not that. I can see you being like an angel investor.
Oh my God,
and
I would
like
love
investing
that.
And
I would love that.
Have you read the Emma Grede book?
Yes.
It's kind of like how she speaks about how she doesn't give her angel and like her founders that she angel invests in. She doesn't give them like what they want. She gives them like what they need to develop their brands. I definitely like listening to you speak and like witnessing you on social media. I definitely get that vibe.
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to donate to my fund, so
donate
I can
to
do
the
that.
Angel Investing Fund. Go fund me.
I will start doing that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, but that's definitely what I see. I think
I
that
would
you
love
definitely have got such a broad amount of knowledge. Like I could just sit with you for hours and rack your brain.
Can't wait. Let's do it.
Yeah, truly, because you're so knowledgeable. And I think for so many people, I think like take from this podcast episode to just be not even just be ambitious, like shoot your shot.
Yes, 100%.
Do the thing.
Like, what have you got to lose? That's what I always ask myself. Like, you send an email to someone, they don't reply. Okay, great. Send another. Like, what have you got to lose? It's like, that's what I think about myself in every situation. It's like, I think so many people are like, how did you have the courage to send Stephen Bartlett an email? I'm like, what did I have to lose though?
Yeah.
He didn't see it.
Stephen don't know you. If he's not seeing it, he doesn't get it.
And my expectations were that he was never going to see it in the first place.
Absolutely.
So I had literally had nothing to lose. So yeah, 100% shoot your shot, go for the big things. I think as women, we don't do that enough as well.
Oh my God, yes.
Like I think there's a stat that's like 50% of, it's something like when a job application is live, men will go for something that's like 20% beyond what they're capable of, and women will undercut themselves 20% or something like that. I don't know the exact stats, but it has to change. But it starts with us.
It does.
It really does. And I think that, like, I don't know. I always try to not downplay my drive and ambition on podcasts, because I think that it's so easy to try to be relatable and do that. But like, why?
Who
like,
for?
Yeah. Who for?
We're not making anyone comfortable.
No.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Oh
So
my
good.
gosh, it's been amazing.
Thank you for coming to London.
I know.
How good.
I know. Crazy. And then we're
So
going to
good.
New York. So maybe one day we'll meet up in LA.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll circle back,
So
Anyways, thank you, Queen.
Yay.
Bye.